Good evening, residents of Everett. I'd like to call the order to the Everett City Council meeting of September 4th, 2024. The City Council meets all requirements of the State of Washington's Open Public Meetings Act. Community members are welcome to join either in person, remote via Zoom, or by calling in. For those who wish to participate via Zoom, in the future, you'll find the instructions to register for public comment on the City of Everett website under City Council Departments. Please note that we do not allow comments of any kind of campaigning, whether for or against ballot measures or candidates running for office. We also do not accept comments focused on personal matters that are unrelated to city business. We ask that the audience refrain from clapping, cheering, or booing, and no signage of any kind are allowed in the chambers. We ask that everyone take a seat and not gather in the entryway area. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin. Here. Vice President Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Vogely.
Excused?
Councilmember Fossey.
Here.
Councilmember Toohey.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan. Here. Councilmember Bader.
Here.
President Schwab.
Here. Councilmember Bader, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would like at this time to ask Councilmember Zarlingo to read the land acknowledgement.
Gladly. This council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Stohopes people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for August 28, 2024?
Councilmember Ryan so moves.
Second.
Motion second has been made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fossey.
Yes.
Councilmember Toohey.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Well, good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, President Schwab, Council and Community. As we shared last week, Friday was the opening of light rail in Linwood. It was super exciting. Long time coming, and obviously it's now light rail has made it to Snohomish County. Everett is next. I know it's been it feels like it's still forever, but it's going to sneak up on us, and our team is already hard at work planning for light rail, so very excited about that. I wanted to just note one item on the agenda tonight, which is the behavioral health contract. That is a key part of our opioid response unit. We received $500,000 in ongoing annual state funding to support this program. I'm very grateful to Senator Robinson and our delegation for helping make sure that we got this money in the state capital budget. Thank you, Representative. And then last week, we approved our contract for a lobbyist, and I just wanted to thank you for that as well. Shows kind of that our lobbyist is also very important in helping the city get important dollars to do the work that we do here in Everett. And then lastly, our summer events are wrapping up. Summer is over, and I just want to take a moment to thank our very lean event team, our event duo, for all their hard work, and our parks team members that are a really big, important part of our events as well. I think our community really benefits from having those free and fun activities. So hope everyone enjoyed it, and we'll have a few seasonal events in the off season too, but really appreciate all the fun that we had in the summer. And happy first day of school to all of our Everett students, including my daughter. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, now it's time for public comment, which includes written comment acknowledgement. Under our rules, written comments shall be considered in the same manner as oral comments. The commenter must provide their name and city of residence. Written comments require this to be made part of the official council record. Good evening, Angie. Do we have any written comments or anyone signed up to speak?
Good evening, President Schwab. We do have written comment and members to speak, public to speak. First, with written comments, we have Kamala Hellmeister regarding item number 12, and Dr. Cassandra Hurd regarding item number 12, and T. Joel Norris regarding the VSIP. and I provided these to council, legal, city clerk, and administration to be part of the record. For public comment, if Evan could please come to the podium. And please state your full name, city of residence. You have 3 minutes to speak, and the mic is on.
Good evening, Council. Great to see you all again. It's been about 2 months. My name is Evan Reed. I'm the Executive Director of Bunker Arts Collective, a nonprofit based here in Everett for Everett. We pick up trash and we paint free murals. That's kind of the gist. Again, excuse my absence, but I've been in full Director of the Boys and Girls Club summer camp duty. Ultimately, here's our updates right now. We're at 8.4 tons of litter removed since November. I had only one mural done from November all the way until May. We're now at 6. So we have 6 that are currently completed that were totally free for community organizations, schools, and small independently owned businesses in the area. More specifically, I'll name them off. We have the 12th Man mural off of 41st and Rucker. We have the Armstrong Barbershop mural off of Hoyt, just right across from the Shack. We have, let's see, the Snohomish County Diversion Center got mural number 3. That is a great opportunity for them. Let's see here. Cascade Elementary School in Marysville got mural number 4. Totem Middle School got a mural on the far adjacent exterior wall facing towards State Avenue. And then the Interfaith Family Shelter, kind of near Toyota Rodland, I always forget the cross streets, also received a shelter. So these were local artists. We offset the costs so that our artists can just come in, do their thing, not have to worry about permits or permission or anything like that. We already got it for them. And they were able to do their thing. And what we're already seeing is that private businesses, the free market, wants to hire them for their miscellaneous opportunities. So our goal was to turn them into a professional development opportunity. It's doing exactly that. So giving them that free opportunity for these businesses to use their walls as a canvas. And as a result, those artists get to use their work to strengthen their portfolio is exactly what we wanted to happen. We're resuming trash cleanups. I took a little bit of a hiatus since I was so busy over the summer. We're at 8.4 tons. It's going to continue until we hit at least 10 tons. And I'm not going to stop. If I hit 10 tons tomorrow, say on Sunday, we're going to try to get as much as we can here through the end of the calendar year. So good progress. Thank you for your time. But yeah, we're chugging along. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm sorry, is it Siri? If you could please come to the podium and state your full name, city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay. Hi, my name is Siri Larson-Iverson. This is Pear. We're from Snohomish, Washington. And we are here today. I'm here today in the capacity of licensed midwife. My practice serves Snohomish County. We're based right across the trestle. And we're here in support of the proposed changes to allow birthing centers to be part of the exemptions for the ground level clinics. A few years ago, the only freestanding birth center in Everett closed its doors. And in the time since then, the 2 other licensed out-of-hospital midwifery practices in Everett closed. So there are no freestanding birth centers or licensed midwives that are currently serving Everett, the city of Everett. And I can tell you, as one of the midwives that serves this area, we feel it. We feel it desperately. It actually feels like a really big equity issue. Not everybody can have a home birth, but people can have a birth center birth and have access to midwifery care, which is more personal care and sets people up to have the best possible outcomes for a low-risk, healthy birth. I know from personal experience that my clients now are faced with either traveling up to a birth center in Arlington, where that hospital nearby is not, no longer has a functioning labor and delivery unit, it just closed, or traveling all the way down to Totem Lake to Kirkland to give birth. Let me tell you, people who are having their second, third baby in Snohomish County birth very quickly. And some people just don't, birthing at home is not really an option for them. I can also tell you that the Providence Midwifery Group that is birthing in the hospital is they are so overrun. The OBs too, like there is a maternity care desert in our whole state, but certainly here in our county. And I am constantly having people come to my doors seeking care that are like, they can't get me in for an appointment for 2 months or whatever. So I encourage you to adopt this amendment. I appreciate the effort of Councilman Fossey and Mayor Franklin to bring this forth and make this a possibility for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one other individual, but wishes to wait until we reach item number 12.
Number 12, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, she'll just come up now.
Okay, now? Would you like to speak now or wait? Yeah, go ahead. All right,
So please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Yeah, I'm Deborah Gleisner. I live in Linwood, Washington. I have a business in Mount Lake Terrace, Washington, and I have another one in Marysville. I'm here as a licensed midwife and a naturopathic doctor. I own a 2,000 square foot birth center in Mount Lake Terrace that provides jobs for 10 employees, pays out $45,000 in payroll every month, and makes over $1 million of revenue every year. This is a successful birth center in Snohomish County, and I looked north to see if we could put another one in Everett when the current birth center that was there closed. When we looked at that particular location, we saw that it was going to be impossible to create the TI needed to be able to put that back into place. And with the new zoning laws, it wasn't even going to be allowed at all on that first floor. We looked at some other locations, but the problem is birth centers need to be accessible from the street. So if we need EMS services, we can get to them quickly. And that's not possible with the current zoning. So I spoke with Everett City Council member Mary Fossey several months ago about this, and she assured me that this was a concern that she and other people had, and said that she would work on this. So I'm very excited today to see that we have some amendments proposed, because making these changes would allow us to put a birth center in this area again, which is, once again, needed, as Siri has to say. I'm also a committee member of the Midwives Association of Washington State, and I work on their Legislative Policy Committee. One of my big agenda items this last year has been to go over the freestanding birth center rules word by word to try to update it for current needs. It hasn't been looked at in over 20 years. So, and doing all of this, we made other changes. They're not done yet. We're working on making other changes to make those birth centers more accessible and easier to open up. And in looking at all of that wording, I looked at the wording that you have here, and I had just one question and comment, which is that your current ordinance speaks specifically about practitioner types that are exempted, like chiropractors, like physical therapists. And the adjusted wording is suggesting that we now add in an exception for a facility type, a birth center, rather than a practitioner type. I hope that's not going to be an issue, but I thought I would bring it up as just kind of a very subtle difference, because it is currently written all as practitioners, and we're putting in an exemption for a facility. I am in favor of this. I do think that this should pass, but I want to make sure that we aren't shooting ourselves in the foot by not looking carefully at that wording as we need to. And then I just want to end my comments with support for the proposed changes and a thank you for valuing the contribution that birth centers and the midwifery model of care can have to the economic vibrancy of this city, and which includes improving healthcare access, decreasing maternal and infant mortality, and decreasing the overall cost of healthcare. Thank you.
thank you very much.
That concludes our public comment.
Okay, very well. Okay, so moving on to council comments and liaison report. Councilmember Zarlingo.
Well, thank you. I guess I'll only comment that that little baby's too young to fill out a public comment form, but clearly wanted to turn around and address the council. So when he grows up, she grows up, we'll be welcome to hearing from her. But yeah, no other comment from me. Thank you.
Councilmember Fossey.
Thank you. So nice to see you all here today. I love it when folks come to City Council and express their joy or their concerns or their enthusiasm. And just so everybody knows that kids and babies are always welcome. I have more questions about the ordinance probably when we get down to that. But I hope everyone had a very happy Labor Day and that all the kids were enjoying their first day of school. I know that was the case for my family as well. The Jetty Island, unfortunately, is now closed. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. The ferry no longer is going over there. So make sure to sign up extra early next year for that, because that is a huge, huge joy for you to go with your families, especially. The last thing that I wanted to motion was to work with legal on potential ordinance or policy regarding landscaping requirements for safe egress and pedestrian safety.
Councilmember Ryan seconds.
We will work on that.
Thank you. That is all.
Thank you. Councilmember Tui.
I don't have an update tonight. Just want to thank the folks that came and spoke. Appreciate your comments, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Ryan.
Great, thanks. Good evening, everybody. Today I attended the Puget Sound Regional Council Economic Development Board meeting. We meet quarterly, and it's a great group, and I appreciate that we can meet virtually for it. There was a presentation by the South Sound Military and Communities Partnership represented from that group, and it was a great reminder of, even though they were speaking more about JBLM and some of the military installations in the South Sound, they touched on some data points for our own naval base Everett and just the contribution that the military members make to our community from an economic perspective and whatnot. So I just really appreciated the reminder about what a great neighbor we have with our Naval Station Everett. They also shared more about economic development and housing trends in the region, which was just absolutely fascinating. I think I've set my pen on fire writing all the stats down and whatnot. But I thought one of the statistics that was most jarring was that talking about monthly rent in Snohomish County, and that in 2015 rent, I didn't catch if it was for a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, but the average rent in 2015 was $1,200 a month, and in 2024, 9 years later, it's $2,200 a month. It's almost double in just 9 years, and I can share with everybody here that wages have not doubled in the last 9 years. So that was interesting statistic and something to keep in mind when we do talk about housing costs and and just the burden of living expenses in the community. I feel like I had one other thing to share. I can't quite remember, but thank you to our speakers tonight and to Evan, who I know has left already, for the great work you guys do in the community. Both my babies are here because of midwives, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bader.
No report, no comment tonight. Thanks.
Yeah, so I just have a couple of quick things. One, I passed out a suggested amendment to item number 10, and I'll explain a little bit more when we get to that subject. And then also want to just say that the resolution that we tabled was council rules based on this. I plan on whatever we end up with item number 10 on Council Bill 2408 is come back with a resolution that will reflect it. Okay. So, all right, moving on to administrative update.
Yes, earlier today, the Council Budget Committee met and I was asked to review a calendar of upcoming Budget Committee meetings. The meeting that happened just prior to this meeting reviewed our budget deficit, the year-to-date 2024 update, and talked a little bit about budget variance and vacancy offsets. A week from today, there are Council Budget Committee meetings each week for the next 3, starting at 5 p.m. Next week, the Council will hear from the budget analyst that they have asked to come forward, Mike Bailey, and he'll be doing a presentation. The following week, on the 18th, we'll be talking about priorities and guidance for 2025 budget development. And during the council meeting on the 18th, budget amendment number 2 will be presented, excuse me, that's next week for a briefing. And then on the 25th, there'll be discussion on budget balancing measures, as well as third and final reading of budget amendment number 3. Beyond that, coming up, and we'll share these in the near future, will be public hearings related to the 2025 budget. I think it's important to remind the public that feedback is welcome at any meeting. There'll also be 3 specific public hearing dates related to the 2025 budget in early and mid-November. And no other comments.
Thank you for that report. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I would ask that you kind of summarize this in administrative reports as we go on here, because there's a lot. And appreciate everyone's here's hard work. Onward to our city attorney, David Hall.
No executive session tonight, just a brief comment. During the Budget Committee meeting earlier, in response to a question about unfunded mandates, I talked briefly about the impact of the upcoming indigent defense standards. There was one bit of information that I neglected to add to that, just for the benefit of the public. The first thing we talked about was the standards that are coming out and likely to be passed by our Supreme Court, which will limit the number of cases that our public defenders can handle from the current 400 phased in over several years down to 150, meaning we will have to, with some other requirements for investigators, social workers, and office support, meaning that our budget for indigent defense, which cities have to fund constitutionally, will increase from 1.4 million to something over 5 million in several years. What I should have mentioned also, because we're getting hit from both sides on this, is because the county prosecutor's office has had so much attrition, they have lost a number of prosecutors and they've been unable to hire enough new prosecutors. We are getting a lot of what are called felony declines. In other words, felonies that the county has decided they don't have the resources to prosecute, so they come to our prosecutors and we charge them at the highest level misdemeanor that we can, since they were felonies, and we have to pay to prosecute those in our municipal court. And then, of course, if they're convicted, we pay the jail fee as well when they're sent to jail. So that total bill for unfunded mandates really is significantly higher than the 5-point-something million that I talked about earlier.
Yep. Councilmember Bader.
One follow-up question, David. Actually, your comment about the county's trouble or difficulties hiring prosecutors, thinking about how that might impact or be downstream for the city, what if the city can't hire enough public defenders or even on the other side enough prosecutors to deal with that change in number of cases that can be held?
A number of cases we would charge in response to arrests that are made or citations given out would have to be dismissed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to our consent items. We have items number 1 through 7. Do I hear a motion?
Councilmember Bader, so moved.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion second. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. All right, moving on to proposed action items. Each one's been read in the, has already been read. We have items 8, 9, and 10. Any questions on item number 8? Okay. Questions on number 9? Or 10? We'll just give her a minute, you guys thumb through. Okay, we good? Right, the third and final reading will be our next meeting. All right, moving on to our action item. Item number 11, authorize Mayor Franklin to sign a professional services agreement between Everett Municipal Court and Bridgeways.
10.
Oh,
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
did we
I just wanted to check for item 10 about setting the meeting time and schedule for the council meetings. Did you want to address your amendment?
oh, yeah, thank you, yeah, all right. Thank you, yes. A suggested amendment for item number 10. Of course, the initial idea was to reduce the cost of staff and the time and effort to support the meetings. So the initial thought was that we were going to do the 2nd and the 4th. During last meeting, we snuck in the 5th also. So I just was speaking with staff. It seemed like we needed to add a few more meetings to do remote to reduce the costs. So that's why I suggested that we do the 2nd and 4th. And most of the fifth Wednesdays, I think we plan on, a lot of those are holidays, vacation times. Some of those we're probably not due anyway. So just to reduce the number of hours for staff support for meetings, I suggest that we add the second.
If a second is needed for that.
A motion and a second to
Yeah,
amend it.
then I will provide that second. Thank you.
Okay.
Council President?
Yeah, of course.
Is the intent we discuss this tonight, or that this would now be taken up next week when we
Well,
bring the whole package?
good question. This is already on the agenda, so I'm suggested we amend the current motion, or current ordinance proposal. And then here, and then we would pass it next meeting, if council does so.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
We got the motion second, yeah. I think you counted as a motion.
Can I count as a motion?
Okay, well, I'll make the motion and just to get it on the table and.
Can I count as a motion there, just for clarification? I always wondered that as being the chair.
Yes, you may.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Yeah, Councilmember Ryan.
Thank you. I'm hesitant to support this. I need a clearer picture of what this will change with our committee structure and our committee meetings, because we're basically taking out another day that we would be having committee meetings. So we're going from 4 committee meetings a month now to just 2 committees. So which committees are consolidated? Are we still going to have committees? Just like some sort of discussion or plan for what happens with our committees. So I thought those were actually working really awesome. I also have some equity concerns about moving more meetings to the daytime. What that means for moms with young kids, what that means for candidates running for office, if that is going to dissuade them from wanting to even run for office if the meetings are during the day. If having daytime meetings is easier for folks without jobs or with flexible jobs. I'm hesitant to support it at this time just because of equity concerns. So I'm not sure who exactly to reach out to. I know we don't have a equity analyst at the city anymore, but if there could be some sort of analysis of some sort of what that means equity-wise to move more meetings to the daytime for council members and being representative of our community, and also access from our community to be able to join and participate for more daytime meetings, that would make me more likely to support it. But so I would love just a pure clarification on what that means for our committee structure, and then also just addressing equity concerns with more daytime meetings.
Yeah, thank you for those. Those are really good questions. The intent was to make these hybrid. So the option of doing remote or in chambers, depending on the council's needs. So I hope that would add or help with the equity issue, that if someone, I guess you'd still have to get permission from an employer to be available during that time. I would be included, hopefully my boss isn't watching. But it may benefit other people too, though. You mentioned the mother. You're at home or you're working remote. Maybe there's some opportunities to have lesser evening stress. So yeah, I get there's a variation depending on the individual. But the intent was to increase the allowable for remotes also, which didn't come with this ordinance. That would be in the resolution that would meet the requirements for that. So those are my 2 different thoughts on that, if that helps.
Yeah, I have, I agree with Councilmember Ryan's concerns. Also, in being here when we had a daytime meeting and working full-time, it was challenging because you never knew when you were going to end. And sometimes they would purposely do very light agendas on those days, which was great, but we still didn't get the work done that was needed. But not knowing when you're going to be done is problematic for people that are working full-time. And I know it would be problematic for me.
Yeah, and I agree with your point. One thing I mentioned too is you had a question about committees. My thought was as well, we would stack committees on the evenings, so, or restructure the committees as we see them. And so every evening meeting would be we'd have a committee meeting, right, just to try to fit everything in. So Any other, Councilmember Ryan?
I'll just add real quickly too that I think when I looked into the fifth Wednesday, next month has 5 Wednesdays, and then in 2025, there's 5 months with 5 Wednesdays, and I think it's just December that had, with the fourth and fifth Wednesday that falls on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve that would be canceled anyways. But those other 4 months still have a fifth Wednesday that could be utilized for a daytime meeting. So I think it, at least for next year, it happens more often than I think it usually does.
Good, thank you. Councilmember Fossey?
I do have similar equity concerns, and with not knowing the end times of meetings, it would be difficult to be, at work and saying I'm going to take an hour lunch and then just having to leave your other job to, it just seems very, very challenging because this ends up being over half of the meetings that we have. So, and I haven't heard like kind of a cost benefit analysis as compared to equity concerns on how much just having one of those. I mean, I totally understand like the remote stuff. Yes, that does make it more accessible, but having it midday makes it hard for people with your regular 9 to 5s to kind of participate. Yeah, I share those concerns and would definitely like a little bit more information.
Okay. Okay, no further discussion. We have a motion and a second on the amendment, not the ordinance itself. Ordinance still be heard next meeting. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
It makes no difference to me, so I'm going to abstain.
Councilmember Fossey.
Without additional information right now, I have to be a no.
Councilmember Toohey.
No.
Councilmember Ryan.
No.
Councilmember Bader.
No.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, moving on to, okay, so number 10. Was there any more questions for item number 10?
I just want to say thank you though for having a printout here so we could look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, no more questions on item number 10. Let's moving on to action items, item number 11.
I'll move item number 11.
Seconded.
Okay, motion and seconds been made. Are there any questions? Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fossey.
Yes.
Councilmember Toohey.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item number 12, Council Bill 2409, or 08-19, public hearing and third and final reading. Adopt an ordinance allowing birthing centers on the ground floor of certain designated streets, amending EMC Chapter 19.04 definitions and 19.05 uses. And we will open the public hearing, and our planning director will give a report. Thank you. Welcome.
Great. Thank you, Council President Schwab, members of the council, York Stevens Wajda, Planning Director. Briefed you on this 2 weeks ago. This is council request legislation, as was mentioned today, that would exempt birthing centers from the restriction on clinics in Metro Everett on streets designated transit-oriented development and pedestrian. That comprises most of the downtown core along Pacific, Smith, Broadway, and Hewitt Avenue would be about the areas that are addressed there. In the mixed urban zone there, we have a restriction by footnote in the use matrix in Chapter 1905 that restricts clinics from the ground floor. Clinics are, pardon me here. Clinics are defined as a building or portion of a building designed and used for the medical, dental, or surgical diagnosis or treatment of patients under the care of doctors. Must note that that word doctors is interpreted liberally to be more of medical professionals and not strictly the word doctors. In interpreting the zoning code, we look to the most closest definition. It does not have to be an exact definition. A definition would be added for birthing centers, which would be, which was drawn from state law, and it would mean any health facility not part of a hospital or in a hospital that provides facilities and staff to support a birth service to low-risk maternity clients. Birth centers would join dentists, psychiatrists, chiropractors, physical therapists, optometrists, and ophthalmologists as the exempted types of clinics. I appreciate the mention by one of the commenters today that there is a difference, and I hadn't noticed that the other types that are exempted are practitioners, whereas this is more of a facility that can include a number of different types of practitioners. I won't go through them all, but I heard about some of them this morning. I think with the way we would interpret the zoning code in this restriction and exemption would work okay. When there would be a business license application or an application for development that would include the ground floor, we would look to see what that use is and what the closest was. If it was a dentist, it's on the list. If it was a birthing center, it's on the list. If it was very, very close to a birthing center and more close to that than anything else, then it would fit in that. So thought about it a little bit today, and I think we're okay with the definition and the structure provided. Planning Commission recommended yes by resolution, which is in your packet. Received a couple of comments today and passed them along. Some of the folks that you heard from earlier this evening, and a couple of written comments as well. And those were all in support from, if memory serves. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? No, okay. Angie, do we have anyone to speak on this since it is an open public meeting?
No, we do not.
Okay. Councilmember Bader.
I know you haven't been with us for a long time, but what's the rationale for restrictions on ground floor businesses in downtown Everett?
The broad rationale for, I think there's two of them. One is to encourage active uses on the ground floor. So there's a Metro Everett plan was adopted in about 2016, I think it was, built on the downtown Everett plan. And all of that sought to provide street level interest activity, the kind of chained trips where you go shop and eat and all those sorts of things. So there is an encouragement for active type uses and a discouragement of non-active uses on these TOD and pedestrian streets that grew out of those plans. And coming from the other end of it, we had a series of ordinances and resolutions in 2003 through 2020 that kind of bounced around opiate substitution facilities and a couple other types of uses that the city wanted to restrict downtown on ground floors. The two of those have kind of merged together into the present set of restrictions.
In that list of other medical providers, kind of have me thinking that, those are medical providers, you're in and out an hour maybe, at least if you're lucky at your dentist, that kind of, right, that kind of thing. Is that kind of, maybe, am I getting at the rationale maybe, perhaps for those?
I was not able to find in the record, I believe that was from Rethink Zoning in 2020. Okay. I was not able to find in the record why those specifically. I think that's probably a good estimate.
Okay. Can you summarize what the Planning Commission, did they talk about the rationale behind this and why it made sense to make this exemption? And if there were any guidelines about why we would make further exemptions on this?
The Planning Commission, as I've heard many folks kind of struggle with this issue of ground floor uses around downtown, and they did so as well. It's an obviously very targeted list of exemptions, and then the clinics, and then there's social services, there's clinics, there's other types of secondhand stores. So they talked a lot about that. Knowing that this request came from the council, I believe I actually encouraged them to focus on this request and not expand the scope of it and start thinking about all the rest, at least in this venue at this time, all the rest of the ground floor uses. So the conversation stayed fairly targeted, and it was fairly easy, I think, for them to support this.
I guess I'm inclined to support this because the Planning Commission approved it, but I guess it does worry me now that we've got an exemption that seems to not line up with the other ground floor uses in downtown, and how in the future we might say no or at least have some rationale for saying no to other requests for ground floor uses that don't kind of meet that idea of kind of a, fostering street life, I guess, so to speak.
Council President?
Thank you.
Yes.
Could I just comment on, that's a very valid concern, but two comments. Number one, what we do on this does not create any kind of legal precedent for others. That just doesn't happen in the zoning context. And number two, even if it did, I think we heard a very compelling reason from one of the speakers, which is unlike some of these other uses, a birthing center needs to be on the ground floor in case they need an ambulance to come in an emergency and wheel them out to the ambulance. And really none of these others benefit from that or can't be on the second floor. So I think legally, we're fine making this one exemption.
Thanks. Excellent point on the rationale. I wasn't suggesting that we would have any legal precedent problems, but just practical precedent, because we know we get requests all the time, and usually it's nice to have some rationale to lean back on if we felt the need to say or to want to decline. So, thank you.
I just also want to add, one of the speakers so eloquently talked about the economic impact of this, and that's something we definitely focus on in our downtown core is are things that are supporting a vibrant economy. And, people coming in and, receiving services and going about their day. But this one is, in particular, is also generating revenue. We also care about the babies. We love the babies, but we love the revenue too.
And it's risky for me to generalize about birthing centers with so many experts right behind me, but my my memory, which is fading now of going through the process myself, involved lots of little visits as well. So I think it is mostly analogous to those short-term visits along the term, which at least in my household ended usually with bubble tea and visits to the local snack shop.
Councilmember Ryan.
Sure, I can concur with Yorick having 2 midwife babies. One of the benefits of having, God, I'm crying. Babies. One of the benefits of having a midwife is that you actually get checkups more often than you do with the OBGYN. It's those little checkups, I think it's they're spaced out at the beginning and then quicker at the end. And so the foot traffic would be a lot higher than for a regular OBGYN. So I just wanted to share that. And then birthing center is also a pregnancy center and a postpartum center too. So it's not just the birth portion of the whole thing, it's more of the spectrum of services that happen over a period of time. So wanted to mention that. I also wanted to share a general reminder of Everett Municipal Code 19.12.130, which sets parameters regarding requirements for transparent windows and doors on the ground floor of buildings in certain zones like downtown. I can understand that due to the sensitive nature of a birthing center, transparent windows may be difficult to comply with. I would expect that a birthing center or any business downtown would do their best, but if it's not possible, that provisions are available for, or if that's not possible, that provisions are made available for a variance to this requirement to allow for window designs or whatnot, similar to the provisions that we had made for the Parks District for their vacant businesses and storefront policy. So I would suggest that there would be a rare exception that could be folded into the work that's being done for to update our city's vacant storefront and facade maintenance requirements to allow for, if there is a rare exception for when a window cannot or should not be transparent, then there's some other facade requirements that are required in the meantime. But otherwise, happy to support today. Thank you.
Councilmember Fosse.
First, what is the status on the vacant storefront issue?
I do not know.
I think that is a genius to add it in at that time in place, and then maybe after all of this, you guys can give us an update on what's going on with that or what you need from us.
It's probably, Jennifer's not here, but it's delayed. Everything's delayed because we're focusing on our budget development right now. So that outside the normal business of work is just probably a lot slower than you'd like because it's an all hands on deck budget development process.
An aspect of that you may want to consider is that if we do have entities that are non-compliant, that can in itself perhaps be a revenue generator. So maybe prioritize some of those ordinances or changes maybe. The other thing is, I really appreciate you bringing up the legal explanation and justification that was so eloquently shared by our speakers today. Above and beyond all of the wonderful things that were shared, and thank you, Councilmember Ryan, especially for your sentiments. I feel very similar about babies and the value of our midwives and having access to that much-needed care, especially in the desert that we are in. With rising healthcare costs, we hear from constituents about the rising costs that they are struggling with every day, and then the lack of accessible healthcare and affordable healthcare, that this is a wonderful move that I appreciate the city and the Planning Commission moving forward with this because it is a need in our community and it is an equity issue too that I don't think that we can leave out. So the fact that we are amending this now to make sure that that's included, I think is very, very important. So this, I think, is a very, very positive move, and I appreciate everyone's work on this and the advocacy. And if you do decide to come to our wonderful city in the future, you guys encounter any other issues like the windows or whatnot, I hope to see you or any future business that decides to take up here freely engage with the city council to see how we can best support. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion was made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes, do I hear a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and seconds is made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes, and with no further business, we are now adjourned.